Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome on back to the channel. It's going to be a good time today as we dive into Tangerine Dream. It's been a while since we've listened to them, but today we're going to be doing a full album listen of their 9th studio album, Force Majeure, released in 1979. We've listened to Tangerine Dream before, and now we're moving over here, crossing the Rubicon, done with Phaedra. Now here with Force Majeure. This album has been highly suggested and highly recommended by quite a bit of you. And I mean like a lot of you. But just to at least reference and call out a few names here. We have Nicholas Burgess, Toten Kopfzerg, sorry if I mispronounced that, Danny Griffin, Bookhouse Boy Wolverale, Neil Lauron. Hold on, there's tons of you out here. Andy King, Lemming, Music Droog, Pentagrammaton, Thomas Hoffman, Andy King again, Emil Vance Bragan, Paul Collins. It just goes on. 12 Monkeys, all accounted for. Thank you guys so much for the suggestion, for the recommendation. Listen, I almost said we're going to turn down the lights, but I don't think it would actually look good if I turned off the lights. Let me see. You know what? It's not bad. It's because it's daytime right now, so it's actually not bad. Do we want to turn down the lights and just kind of like relax with Tangerine Dream today? Because I'm looking at the camera and you guys can still see me kind of good here. So, you know what? Let's go ahead, let the ambiance kind of settle in. Is that good lighting though? I think that actually looks pretty decent. I can close the blinds a little more to make it even darker. But you don't want to make it like too dark. You don't want to make it too dark. Let me just a little bit of light. I think this would be a good mood. Oh, you know what? And when I have the lights down like this, you can actually see the the lights I always have on in the back. They're not as noticeable when it's not. I think that this actually looks pretty decent. I hope so. It looks good on my end. Hopefully it looks good for you. One thing we know for sure is that sound-wise, we have nothing lacking. So let's go ahead and pull up the album here. We're going to listen to each track individually. There's only 3. The first being the title track, and then we'll move on to the second 2. But let's go ahead and start off with that title track with Force Majeure, and then we'll move on from there. We'll talk about them after. I kind of like this look. I kind of like this. Anyways, let's dive in. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hold on. Before we go on, oh man, I almost forgot something. Before we go on, you know what? I might have to do this later because I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Before. I wanted to recommend you guys or suggest an album for you guys to listen to and something for you to check out, but I don't think, because I've just recently discovered them, so I don't really know all their information and everything. I don't really know a ton about them, but if I can find it really quick, I would love to suggest something for you guys to listen to. I don't think I've added them to my RYM yet. Man, and I don't have them saved, and I can't remember exactly what the album was called because it is a Spanish album, and I don't remember the name of it. Man, if I remember, we'll come back to it. For now, let's go ahead and listen to Tangerine Dream. We've wasted enough time. Let's go back. Force Majeure. Here we go. It's coming. It's on the way. Just let it load. Let it load. That's a spooky opening. That's disconcerting. This is like the opening credits to a horror film. Doesn't this feel like the opening to like some cosmic horror? Nice little shift into beauty. Into melody. That sounds nice. I love how it fades in, fades out, bringing something new with it. A gentle pace. Hold on. We have drums here? Really? Dude. I did not expect the drumming guitar to come in like this. They're taking their atmosphere to a completely different level, a different stratosphere. This is such a great sound for them. Strong sequencer? It's expected. into the drums. Oh man, this is so good. Hyperspeed Railroad. We've like shifted back into that kind of disturbance sound. That's ominous. Guitar leads and then the synth underneath, and the howling winds. Ooh, gong here? This is a really cool track. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? Why didn't anyone tell me about this in the comments? No one hopped in. No one wanted to tell me about Force Majeure by Tangerine Dream. No one. Phaedra, good. Rubicon, good. But I'm telling you right now, this is leaps and bounds ahead, more to my preference. Are you kidding me? Where were you guys hiding this, under a rock? Where was this? I mean, obviously the synths, the sequencers, and all the electronic blips and boops and doopity doops, all of that, it's expected. They're magnificent. What they do, you would expect it from Tangerine Dream. Duh, right? No one told me that we had drums coming in here, and then the guitar really takes a lead in here. This truly sounds like progressive electronic and progressive rock and like space rock. This feels like just so in a different stratosphere than, I mean, at least what I've heard from Tangerine Dream before. This is like totally different. This is so fantastic. This is such a perfect listen. I like how, I mean, all right, hold on. Where does this album come in relation to the albums that I have heard? Let me look at that really quick, because that might help me with a little bit of what's going on here. So, we've listened to Phaedra, 1974. We've listened to Rubicon, 1975. This album comes 3 albums later, because after Rubicon is Stratosphere, then Cyclone, and then here. So, I don't know what's changed between then and now, except for what I'm hearing. Maybe this wasn't new. Maybe this was used also in Stratosphere and Cyclone. I don't know. However, I can say that this is so optimal. It sounds so polished. They know what they're doing, not like they ever didn't. But I just mean, like, when they're bringing in these elements, it's not like they're misstepping. This is a complete step in the right direction. I love how it opens up with this chaotic maelstrom of disturbing sounds, and it kind of like it doesn't ease you into the music. It actually it's kind of jarring in how it forms. But then the ease comes after, because little by little they do away with that disturbance, with that eeriness, that suspensefulness, which really does remind me of like the opening credits for some sort of cosmic horror. And then slowly they fade in, they rise in, those synths of melody. That's where the easing comes in. That's where that comfort comes in. And then, of course, they bring in extra sounds and sequencers and stuff. But when the drums come in, and what do the drums bring in tow? Some absolutely wonderful guitar work. That is sensational. Once again, that's something so unexpected for me personally to hear from Tangerine Dream. The drums and then the way that those guitars are playing, that's just soaring. That is really just sending your soul. That is such a wonderful addition. And not only just because, okay, there's drums, great. Lots of bands have drums. But because the drums play such a great part in the momentum and movement of the music here, not taking away from the atmosphere and the soundscapes that they build here as they've built before. They really just add another sort of rhythmic machine to it all, and just really drive those pulses, which I love the way the actual synth pulses come in. It just drives all that into a furthered direction. Some would say an evolution. You could even say a progression. And I think that the way that they handled that was absolutely wonderful. The drumming was really, really nice. Let me see who's drumming here. That's going to be Klaus Kruger on the drums and percussion. And I mean, what a wonderful job in adding something to the music. When you bring in a new element to your music, it has to add something. And not just the literally, we're adding an instrument or we're adding like this new element. It has to add into the creativity and, for lack of a better word, the spirituality of the music. It has to make that music come alive and make that vision be further realized than before. I think it clearly did. And then it's not like they depended on that. Like they kept on, they swooped back down and got back into that stormy night that we heard in the beginning, and then rebuilt from there. This time, this is just my, me kind of speaking now, but going into a more arcadey sounds, with those chiptune kind of sounds, the blippity, the blippity chips, and that epic ending as well. This is just such a really good track. And that's just the first one. That's just the title track. How come no one told me about this? Let's go ahead and move on into the second side of the album, which is going to open up rather with Cloudburst Flight, which I know actually was another track that a lot of people were talking about. Hold on, let me use your names. Let me use your names. Why not? We got time. You're here, I'm here. Let's take our time. We're not rushing anywhere. So, for example, this particular track was recommended by Hippo, Paul Collins, Sable Basilisk, which is a cool name, Bauhau Bastard, Andy King again, VDGG Mouse, Richard Thresh, and actually that's the only people I see who, with actually this specific track. So let's go ahead and listen to it. We'll talk about it after. This is really good stuff. Hopefully the lights were okay. I think they were. At certain times it seemed to get a little bit darker, and I hope it's not too much. What if I was to like leave the light on but turn it so it's not like, so it's still a little dark, but maybe not like completely. Maybe this is, I don't know. Let's roll with it. Why not? Here we go. How come no one told me about Cloudburst Flight? How come no one told me about that? No one mentioned this song. How come no one... You cannot tell me. You cannot tell me. You cannot lie to me. You cannot look me in the eye and convince me that that is not a perfect 10 out of 10 track. That is the most perfect piece of music. 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's get it correct. That is genuinely one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've listened to in recent times. Without any doubt, no question in my mind. I have one question actually in my mind. Is there an extended edition of this track? Because if they're able to, I mean, you just put it on loop, I guess. From the first few seconds, I knew I was in for something special. And like you're listening for the first time and you hear the first few seconds, right? Let me back it up. You hear the first few seconds. This is me. Just that guitar strum, so neatly and so succinctly, you hear each of those strings being played, just so nicely, right? Big atmosphere, and you have that gentle swell of atmosphere just beneath it. Already, I'm 1000% in. Now, probably the reason, besides it just sounding absolutely blissful, that I also really like it is because I always mention this, but I'm going to say it again in case it's your first time here. One of my favorite pieces of music ever is the track Drugged from Bass Communion. It is just, to me, one of, if not the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. Bar none. Halfway through, spoilers, there's a moment where the music kind of changes, and just like here, obviously this is way earlier than the track I'm referencing, but just to give you some hindsight for myself, there's a moment halfway through where the guitar strums and it brings in this completely new amount of atmosphere, this completely new depth. And we start off with that here. And that is just magical to me. That is a sensational sound, and I love the way that Tangerine Dream handles that here. This piece of music just builds up, goes through changes, but not only is it handled so organically, it's so well constructed, so well composed, so well structured, that this to me is one that could be studied. For example, I mean, we'd have to listen to it again, but for example, that way the guitar starts off, and even as those synths begin to pulse up, in my mind as a first listen, I'm thinking, okay, I hear the pulse coming, I hear it rising up, I don't want that pulse to drive away this really awesome sound that we've had before with the guitar and the synth and everything. I don't want it to drive that away, because I really like that. And they don't drive it away. They kind of merge lanes. And one doesn't necessarily overtake the other, but the instruments and the sounds, for lack of a better word, allow one another to change a little bit so that they can fit together. So these two sounds look like they're going to clash. They look like they're going to collide in a negative way, but no, they allow each other to intersect. They allow each other to change just a little bit to bring it into this completely new and different direction. It is just such a wonderful merging of those sounds in the very beginning. That is magical. This is such a perfect track. And then skipping ahead a little bit in here. Skip ahead more. A little bit more. There you go. I can't even tell you how awesome that is. The bass are those arpeggios? I don't know, but the bass, that suspenseful rumbling underneath everything, just it's like worms underground that are and then on top of that, the awesome drums, the guitar work, the synth, just the guitar and the synth are just soloing and bouncing back and forth and fizzling up and burning out. It's I don't know, man. Allowing for a lot of space. It doesn't sound cheesy at all. Like, just the balance that they have in sounds and tones and the way they come up with these sounds and tones. Once again, the merging of all this. That's a showstopper. That's a goosebump inducing piece of music. I haven't even talked about like names besides Klaus Kruger, Christopher Frank on keyboards and sequencers, and of course Edgar Froese on keyboards, guitar, and effects. I mean, I don't know, guys. That to me is just, that's one of those legendary tracks. You know, like, okay, you know, in genres there's those legendary tracks, right? I don't know. With prog, you got Close to the Edge and, you know, Jethro Tull, and you know what tracks are out there. And like, this just seems to me like the quintessential electronic track. To me, this is like even more consensual or like essential than like Phaedra, Oxygen. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm over exaggerating. I don't feel like I am. But I feel like I'm in love with this track. That's so exciting. How come no one told me about this one? Anyways, let's go ahead and move on into the final track here on the album. If the last track, which is interestingly named Through Metamorphic Rocks, if the next track is near as good as Cloudburst and the title track, this could very well be my favorite Tangerine Dream album at this exact point. And I'm not afraid to say that off of a first listen. I'm not at all. Let me turn the lights again. Let's venture into the void once more. Oh, but what a void it is. What a good sounding void it is. Oh, man. Ooh. This is so good. This is exciting. Don't you like when you find good music? You're like, this is new, this is fresh, this is at least new for me. That you can't. There's certain feelings that you can never rediscover again, and I'm having one of those right now. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track, guys, with Through Metamorphic Rocks. Here we go. Slowed down. It's kind of interesting. What a cinematic experience this is. This one is much more guitar focused and leaning. Here's our de-evolution right here. We just got sucked into a black hole. Clearer. And every other time it's accompanied by that other synth there, then it's empty. That buzz. This is going through those rocks. What? ghost in there. Ever so slightly it changes. It's repetitive, but ever so slightly. Even with that, it's a werewolf. It definitely sounds like it's building up. It's just taking its time. Okay. I like how that note's being held now instead of the dance, dance, dance. And now we are through those metamorphic rocks, out on the other side. How do you feel? So the last track here started us off again with that kind of catastrophic sound, that distressful stormy sound, and then once again it moved into more melody. And I love how guitar driven this particular track was in the first half. That is just leading, that is actually just rocking out. There are a few synths in there. From what I can tell, you hear a little thin one playing, and there of course is that underbelly of atmosphere that's being played as well. But this one is really guitar driven, rock driven, especially with the drums and the way they're being very aggressively played in here. And I was thinking, listening to it, if you had given me this track, matter of fact, if you have given me this album and you didn't tell me who it was or anything like that, I would have never guessed Tangerine Dream. I would have never guessed Tangerine Dream playing this. I don't know who I would have guessed, but it wouldn't have been Tangerine Dream. I probably would have said, like, maybe that's Barden's handling synth and is like Camel or something. But I would have been way off. Like, I would have been way off. But that first part there, that first half, how magnificent does that sound? How glorious does it feel? It feels like the band is rocking out and celebrating this new adventure that they've gone on, this exploration of ideas, their success in this exploration of ideas, at least from an artistical and creativity point of view. And this is like their last hurrah, their final send-off, and their final rocket ship up into the atmosphere. Right? That's what this feels like. Because how celebratory is that, and how like absolutely wonderful is that guitar playing in there especially. Then it devolves, right? We hit that de-evolution, and that's where going through our metamorphic rocks, I guess you could say, happens. And at the halfway point, we have this really interesting new rhythm, this kind of broken, skittering, right? Which we've heard before, right? And I really think that that has such a cool sound and rhythm. And I really enjoy the way that they add all those effects around. You got the woof, you got a lot of little changes in the music, but it stays at a pretty constant, right? Let me skip ahead even a little bit, right? That kind of scratchy sound with the chords of the synth hitting them hard. I think that's a really cool rhythm. And I think that that's actually a really cool section. I will admit, it does go on a little bit too long for a lack of payoff, I should say. I like the sound, I like the rhythm, I just wish it was a little bit shorter, or that it was leading into something a little bit more climactic, such as we got with the other tracks. I'm not disappointed in it, I just wish that there was just a little bit of extra oomph to push it in, or like bring in the drums again, which you did get. You did get a little light touch of drums in there, but I would definitely preferred like a bigger kind of ending to that. But that's just personal preference. Once again, I think it sounds good on its own. I like that rhythm. I like that, and then and all these other sounds going on. I sound like Michael Winslow over here. I just wish that it kind of went into something or shortened up a little bit. And if they were trying to fill in space on the record at this point, we could have probably taken like 3 of these minutes and handed it off to Cloudburst Fly. I'm just saying. I'll put the light back on here so you guys can see me. I'm just saying. We could have just handed off a few more minutes over to the previous track. That wouldn't have been a problem. I would not have said a thing. But as it is a really good track, and I think a nice celebratory climactic finish, at least in the first half of it. Looking at some of the information for this particular track, it says, following Stratosphere, this album developed Tangerine Dream's further evolution towards the more melodic sound they would adopt in the 1980s, with a heavier presence of guitars, drums, and distinct musical suites, of course here. The distortion of the bass sequence on Through Metamorphic Rocks was a result of a burnt-out transistor in the mixing desk. When the band heard the result, they decided to keep it. Sometimes, what did Bob Ross say? Happy mistakes? Isn't that what he said? I think that's what he said. Happy mistakes. Sometimes the mistakes make the beauty. It also says that this is Tangerine Dream's 4th biggest selling album in the UK, reaching number 26 and spending 7 weeks on the chart. And while I can't see it here, it says that the rear cover artwork collage includes an image of a man's lower face, apparently a photograph of a sculpture, which looks extremely like classical composer Beethoven. His musical influence may possibly be the force majeure, in which the album title refers to. And even listening to Tangerine Dream, I mean, they obviously and clearly have a little bit of a classical influence there in their music. Anyways, this was a really, really, really good album. My favorite from Tangerine Dream. I'm very confident in saying that. Very, very confident. As for song rankings, I think this one's pretty easy to figure out. Cloudburst, the title track, and then Metamorphic rocks final. I mean, Cloudburst is just that's just a perfect piece of music. Anyways, all of you that had recommended this album, thank you so much for the suggestion. This was 5 stars. This was 2 thumbs up, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, gold medal. Trying to think of what other rankings. This one gets a Michelin star. All of it. It's all well deserved. And for those of you who didn't recommend this album to me, I'm assuming it's just because you didn't hear it. But now that you heard it, you know, that's all right. Listen, thank you all so much for being here, for listening to the music with me, for sitting alongside with me, or laying alongside with me, or wherever you are. I appreciate you listening to it with me. And thank you for being here. Of course, you're more than welcome to follow me on some of the places that are here on the screen. You can support the channel on Patreon for as little as $2 a month, but you don't have to. I'm just glad that you were here to enjoy Tangerine Dream with me. Yeah. That's it. That's all I gotta say. This is a great album. Listen, have a wonderful rest of your day, guys, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.